Dad said he couldn't come to my wedding because my stepmom threatened to leave him if he walked me down the aisle since it would steal thunder from my stepsister's wedding that happened 6 months earlier. I asked him to repeat it, and he said that Amy feels like me having a wedding so soon after Ezra's is trying to steal Ezra's thunder and that it's disrespectful to their family. I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? Ezra got married 6 months ago, had her big fancy wedding, and now I'm not allowed to get married because it might somehow diminish her special day that already happened? But it gets worse because then my dad says that Amy also thinks I'm being manipulated by asking him to walk me down the aisle because I'm trying to force him to choose between his families and put him in an impossible position. I lost it at that point because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Like, I'm his actual biological daughter, and asking my father to walk me down the aisle at my wedding is somehow manipulative? I told him that was completely insane, that Amy was being ridiculous and controlling, and that he needed to stand up to her and tell her that he was going to his daughter's wedding whether she liked it or not. He got defensive and said that I didn't understand how hard this was for him, that Amy was just trying to protect her daughter, and that maybe we could find a compromise. A compromise? Like what exactly was the compromise supposed to be? That he would come to my wedding but not walk me down the aisle? That he would walk me halfway down the aisle and then leave? That I should postpone my wedding for another year so it wouldn't be too close to Ezra's? I couldn't believe he was even suggesting that there was room for negotiation here. And then he said the thing that really broke my heart, which was that he hoped I would understand that his marriage to Amy was important to him and that he couldn't risk losing her over this. Like, he was basically telling me that his wife was more important to him than his daughter and that he was choosing her over me without even trying to fight for our relationship. I hung up on him because I was so angry and hurt that I couldn't even form words. I spent the rest of the day crying and trying to figure out what I was supposed to do. Nomad was amazing and just held me while I fell apart, told me that we'd figure it out together, and that no matter what happened with my dad, our wedding was still going to be perfect because we'd be getting married. But I couldn't stop thinking about how my dad had walked Ezra down the aisle just 6 months earlier, how proud he looked, and how he'd given that speech about how much she meant to him. Now he was telling me that he couldn't even show up to my wedding because his wife didn't want him there. I realized that this wasn't really about Amy at all. This was about the fact that my dad had never really fought for me, chosen me, or made me feel like I was as important as his new family. I called him back the next day. I was calmer, but I was also done pretending that this was okay. I told him that if he chose not to come to my wedding, then he was choosing to end our relationship permanently and that I wouldn't keep begging him to be my father. He started crying and saying that he loved me and that this was killing him, but that he didn't know what else to do. I told him that he knew exactly what to do. He just didn't want to do it because it would be hard. He kept saying that he hoped someday I would understand, that he never wanted things to be this way, and that maybe after some time passed, we could work things out. I told him that there wasn't going to be any working things out because I was done being the daughter who got the leftovers, who had to compete for scraps of attention, and who was always expected to be understanding when he chose other people over me. I told him that he had made his choice, now he had to live with it, and that after my wedding, I didn't want him to contact me anymore. He was begging me not to do this, saying that I was being too extreme and that cutting him out of my life wasn't going to solve anything. But I was past the point of caring about his feelings because he clearly hadn't cared about mine for years. The worst part is that I think some part of me always knew this day would come because he'd been showing me who he was for years, and I just kept hoping he would change.